The Diary of Samuel Pepys, 26th of February 1660, Sunday. My brother went to the college to chapel. My father and I went out in the morning and walked out in the fields behind King's College and in King's College chapel yard, where we met with Mr. Fairbrother, who took us to Botolph's Church, where we heard Mr. Nicholas of Queen's College, who I knew in my time to be Tripos, with great applause upon this text, "For thy commandments are broad." Thence my father and I to Mr. Widrington's chamber to dinner, where he used us very courteously again, and had two fellow commoners at table with him, and Mr. Pepper, a fellow of the college. After dinner, while we sat talking by the fire, Mr. Pierce's man came to tell me that his master was come to town. So my father and I took leave and found Mr. Pierce at our inn, who told us that he had lost his journey, for my lord was gone from Hinchingbrook to London on Thursday last, at which I was a little put to a stand. So after a cup of drink I went to Magdalen College to get the certificate of the college for my brother's entrance there, that he might save his year. I met with Mr. Burton in the court, who took me to Mr. Petchell's chamber, where he was, and Mr. Zanchi. By and by Mr. Petchell and Zanchi and I went out, Petchell to church, Zanchi and I to Rose Tavern, where we sat and drank till sermon done, and then Mr. Petchell came to us. And we three sat drinking the King's and his whole family's health till it began to be dark. Then we parted. Zanchi and I went to my lodging, where we found my father and Mr. Pierce at the door, and I took them both and Mr. Blayton to the Rose Tavern, and there gave them a quart or two of wine, not telling them that we had been there before. After this we broke up, and my father, Mr. Zanchi and I to my cousin Angier to supper, where I caused 2 bottles of wine to be carried from the Rose Tavern that was drunk up, and I had not the wit to let them know at the table that it was I that paid for them, and so I lost my thanks for them. After supper, Mr. Fairbrother, who supped there with us, took me into a room by himself and showed me a pitiful copy of verses upon Mr. Prynne, which he esteemed very good, and desired that I would get them given to Mr. Prynne, in hopes that he would get him some place for it, which I said I would do, but did laugh in my sleeve to think of his folly, though indeed a man that has always expressed a great civility to me. After that, we sat down and talked. I took leave of all my friends, and so to my inn, where, after I had wrote a note and enclosed the certificate to Mr. Widrington, I bade good night to my father, and John went to bed. But I stayed up a little while playing the fool with the lass of the house at the door of the chamber, and so to bed.